that image of what I call the wow impact. And of course the windows, and I hear exactly what you say about the windows, but I'm not sure about the natural daylight or that impact in coming up to a place of worship. That image didn't quite do it for me. And that's where maybe the windows could come in and the natural daylight. And my final point, the acoustics upstairs, I don't know if they're tested but it looks wonderful. So all very exciting, but just some thoughts.
I think I would answer before you were Karen. I think it's hard to tell, but because it's black on there, but there is a lot of glass that is part of the new extension. It's just different than what we have. Half of what that new extension is glass.
Sorry, I can answer those questions. Yes, the view out is quite important too, I think. So the view will be down into the trees. And so there is quite a lot of glass, as Alyssa said. Granite, yes, I get the comments about granite. And it's funny to hear someone, normally we're getting pushed back away from render to stone by planners. So it's interesting to have someone do the opposite and say, no, stone's not in keeping, you should do render. It's an interesting thing to think about. We like render. Lime render. We don't like normal render, which looks terrible after 5 years. But, if you do an old traditional render, it can look really good, I think. Sorry.
I haven't seen a picture of as you come up to the front of the church. The plinth that's outside, the memorial plinth that's outside, and it was built with the old stone brought from the old church at Bethilne. What happens to it? Will it be included in the entrance, or as we see the church?
Let me go back to, yes, we do know about that, and there's a few other bits as well around the church we know about, and we're not including it. Well, we've talked about how could it be included. I guess until we have an actual finished material kind of stone, it would be hard to take that's built from rubble, random rubble. I think we'll probably move that rather than sort of build it into the building. But yeah, let's see.
As Karen said, we have thought very much so about what is of the church that needs to be retained in different ways. So we're not going to get rid of the history that surrounds or within the building, but how do we retain that within the next phase?
They weren't sure there was going to be any questions, so this is very exciting.
It's very similar to some of the other questions that have come before. I know we asked for the additional storage, and that's why you've put that additional. But from an impact point of view, I much prefer the original design. It appears to be much more balanced to me. And if you went back to the original design, could you then have the two windows either side? And what's your preference?
Well, it's an interesting, this is challenging to do. It's been a challenge to get the balance right in the elevation because of that axial issue. So, to be honest, but actually the challenges are sometimes what makes architecture. If it's too easy, if it was dead obvious, some can be just like, like that. Whereas this, I think this is quite difficult, which means you need a better architect, and the architect needs to work harder, and that I think. So, but if I was to be honest, my preference is not to have the side thing. I think I prefer the other one, but I wonder. But I'm sorry. This is our client who's saying not just Alyssa, the client group. So it's all of you. But this plan, I think we could make this plan work, and we could have the two windows. We'd lose one of them, but these windows are also problematic because we're going to have a floor running through the middle of it. We'll end up spending £10,000 reconditioning that window, getting it to be insulated, putting a floor through the middle of it, and it won't be as it was, I think. So, are the windows really important to everyone? I mean, is it? Yeah. Right, yeah.
But I think what's hard to tell from what we have here, because most people don't see it, is we have a window out that way that is actually incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
No one sees.
Yeah.
And the new plan will make that window far more of a feature. So it's not like we're losing, like, there is an element where, because we're reshaping and rethinking, we're actually gaining something that we don't at back. That we don't, unless you go up and down the stairs. You don't really see our south-facing window, which is beautiful every morning with the sun shining through.
Yeah, that's south facing. It's got this oriel window above the two arches. It's a really beautiful window. Sorry, use a question.
Forgive me asking, but could you just remind myself of the seating capacity of the downstairs part of the church? The reason I'm asking the question is that the churches should be for the living, but as in life there is death. I'm just wondering in terms of the size of the downstairs capacity to accommodate a funeral. And I know you could take it upstairs, but you can't take the coffin upstairs because you then have, that's just where my thoughts are. Maybe there's a lift, but I don't know.
The way the stairwell is designed, it's easy to take it up the stairwell. That's part of what has been part of the design. We've thought about these things, and that is, it could be taken very easily upstairs on exit and entry into the building. A coffin could be taken up the stairs very easily, in how we've designed the stairs and the stair layout. So a funeral could be upstairs, a funeral could be downstairs. And the beauty of this is that there is the diversity of space. If there's a funeral that is larger than the capacity of seating upstairs, people can be downstairs and there'll be a screen that will connect. So if you have a funeral that is over 170 or whatever the max was, you'll have a space where people can be both up and down. Or if people want to have a funeral tea here at the church, the kitchen will be right there. You can move from upstairs to down. So we have thought about things like a coffin and making sure that whatever access, because there's a debate to get a bigger lift to accommodate, but because of it, the stairs is a 3-part turn, it will be maneuverable and they're wide enough to be able to accommodate that.
Was that one? You do need a bigger lift, yeah. But apparently undertakers are used to carrying these upstairs, so apparently it's not that problematic.
At the risk of being incredibly unpopular, I am not a local from around this area. And I think that the sandstone is tremendous. I think the inside of the church has the lovely light wood, lovely modern feel to it. And I think, I'm sorry Elaine and I'm sorry Sandy, but I think it's grey and cold and not terribly welcoming. And it is Aberdeen, it is part of here, but perhaps it's good to be different. Thank you.
I forgot to show you this model. This no. No, it isn't. Sorry, too much. Any more questions or comments? Or I'm sorry.
It's not so much not a question for you as for the church. These windows were put in when the front was taken off.
Yes, correct.
So these windows are less than 100 years old.
They were put in 54, 56, 50.
So these are less than 100 years old. They are dated to look at.
Yes, they are.
The window you can't see, all those who walk up the stairs, the other one is amazing. And personally, I'd much rather see that one. These do look dated. They're not as wonderful as some stained glasses can be. Sorry.
And again, what was said is we've already discussed retaining the image of the stained glass in each of these, not the cross, that was different, but retaining those and possibly the light as you go upstairs, those will be visible from this upstairs worship space. So everything that is of value for a heritage standpoint to remember where we've been, we have thought about very much so. How do we carry that forward?
Yeah, we heard Kieran say about the light glasses.
I'm sorry. He's already had a conversation.
I just want to double check some things, if that's possible. The windows look wonderful from the outside when the church is lit and it's dark in the winter. But my thinking, if I'm right, is if we retain the end windows, it'll be like this one over here. The floor will actually cut the top shape of the windows. So you're not going to see the same shape you see now. Is that correct?
It would be, and it would be, this would be the hall space, so the light would be different, and this would be office space, so again, the light would be different. Whereas the windows for I've taken over your presentation. the windows for the new are more full length of the 2-story, so would show that. It would just be a different aspect, but yes, there's that.
Yeah. The other thing I want to check is when we have the upstairs and you have the shape of our window just now, are you retaining the stained glass window as is?
Yes.
Yeah, but obviously protecting it and so on. Okay. My other query about upstairs is, and I think I can see it actually on one of these pictures, is there going to be light coming from between the rafters in the roofing part?
Get the microphone back to record. No, not in the church, because light from the sky can be problematic too, you know, so for presentations and things. There will be a light in the new building in the stairwell, you know, because we can get light diagonally down. Yeah, sorry, we haven't modelled that little window there is the window. Now, we haven't modelled the stained glass. The stained glass is great, you know, we're not, yeah. And I don't think this is entirely right, actually, because the floor height, if I can just step up here, the floor height, can I stand on this? Is that, the floor height will be about here. So, you know, it will be kind of chest height when you're standing upstairs. So, you know, it'll be much more, well, I mean, I guess it's less sort of heraldic, but I also like it because there'll be a pitch above it, not a flat roof. I think it will be accentuated by this, you know, so... and this will be the main. I mean, if you were having a wedding with an aisle in the church, that would be the same view you have now. You know.
So will you also then have a plan for more attractive lighting in the upstairs?
Yeah, we have a lighting consultant as part of the team, and so we'll be doing that. So any kind of artificial lighting we'll manage. I think lighting is really important in buildings, especially church buildings.
The windows, the bottom panel of the window where the flowers come up to, could that be taken away and it would still give you the biggest part of the window?
The problem is
But if you're going to, then you could move that down, or would that be too much?
Oh, I see. You mean shorten the window, basically pull it down.
Take the bottom panel,
I mean, anything's possible.
come down, which would maybe give you the floor space.
Anything is possible. We could also take. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Just when you see in sections, so there's not much design in the bottom section of the window. So that wouldn't be too much of a loss, but you would still have the main.
This is my favourite of your windows, by the way. I really like these lines. They're sort of like, I think it's really artistic.
The shape.
Yeah, anyway, but I mean, we didn't think these were of great heritage value. That's the kind of the planning perspective on these windows. We think they're really important from the bottom of the street looking up. Visually, it's very important. You've got trees and you've got the building and those 3 windows, but that's because there's nothing else other than those 3 windows. You know, once we build, if you build this,
Windows within the walls.
you could, yeah, that was the plan, was to use them as light boxes, you know, so they're part of the lighting scheme inside. Yeah, exactly that, yeah.
I think Gary had
Oh, yeah. I've got that, yeah. Oh, sorry.
David and Gary, those are our last questions.
Thank you. We've talked a lot about light, but I think a very important part of this congregation is the music and the praise. And how will the acoustics be affected by the change in scale?
Thank you. So yes, one of the reasons for keeping the timbers as a rhythm, timber helps, is really good acoustically. If everything's hard plasterboard, the noise bounces around quite a lot, which can be good for some things. Choral music you know, but we do recognise the need to manage the acoustics. We haven't got to that stage yet. We might end up with some panels, some perforated panels in the ceiling to help kind of get the right absorption. But yeah, there is talk. There's going to be one of those boxes in the new scheme. There's a place for it, and for AV, audiovisual staff, and we've also talked about screens and digital. You know, as Elisa was saying, downstairs we would have a duplicated service option. Yeah, I don't know if that fully answers the question, but.
Sorry, it was just a short point. Again, it was just regarding the windows. And going about the countryside, you see various old churches developed into homes. And, you know, many of them have double floor. And it doesn't do it for me looking into the window and seeing a beam, you know, half across. It just spoils the window. That was all.
I mean, there are some, I have seen one or two where it has been done well, where they have, instead of the whole floor cutting there, they just have a piece of glass hitting the window. But I think acoustically it's not good. So if someone was down here playing music and the church service was going on, I think we would struggle to acoustically separate. So yeah, that's one of the criteria, I think, for these decisions. Can I just say one last thing? I don't know if we're winding up now, or I heard Dan. I was outside and I heard Dan talking. Or in fact, it wasn't Dan. It was Billy talking about how it takes something to build anything. You know, to build anything at all, it takes will, and will. What you require for will is energy. You know, this kind of there has to be a sort of this force of push, and regardless of what the right answer is, we're not saying this is the right answer, this is our best guess of the answer, but I think I would commend you to take those words on board about energy and will and to deliver the project list, because they can be really complicated. Planning can take ages, you know, you're through the building warrant process. We are slightly worried as well about our fire escape. Maybe it's not wide enough, maybe the planners will want a wider stair. What do we do then? There's lots of these things that, so as well as keeping an open mind, it's a call for push, you know, help us push this, you know, so yeah. Thank you.
Can we give a big round of applause? Thank you for hearing. I just want to reiterate what Kieran said at the beginning. This is not a final plan. This is us starting those steps. It takes a lot of steps to get to where we want to be. But we need to do it together. And as everyone has said this morning, it will take a lot of energy and commitment and that push and drive that we'll have to work together to get to. So we want to hear feedback. We want to be this to be a part of who we are as a church, who we are within this community, how we can serve the community. We want to think about, there's a lot. I mean, you saw Dan's presentation about everything that has taken us to get to this point after all the years that you guys had before I even came here. There's a lot of different pieces that have to be taken into consideration that move us forward, not only with an architect and the architect's plan, but then how we can use this building and what it's going to look like and how it's going to engage and communicate with the community. I want to thank Dan and Kieran again for making the journey. They've both had really long journeys to get here this morning to be with us. So a big, big thank you to both of you guys. Thank you to all of you who have endured sitting on these seats or the pews, especially if you've been on the pews for this long. This is the start of the commitment. Being here this morning. But I mean, it's every step, and it's us working together, moving forward. So just a big thank you for everyone. And I'm very excited, the Kirk session is very excited to be continuing to working with you guys as we move through this. So again, just share that enthusiasm as we move forward. So thank you, everyone.